Everyone, I'm Joe, and we are talking about the Marvel Multiverse TTRPG today, and we're doing another character build. We do these in order to understand how we build characters, how we make choices, and the kinds of things that are possible to create in this game. So here we go. As always with my videos, we are making this as of Rules Update 1.3 at the moment, meaning that there have been 3 rules errata to the game, and if new errata or rules change when the full game comes out in August, I might need to do a video updating some of the things we talk about here, but as of right now, this is a character we can build today. So why do we multi-class in TTRPGs? We do it because maybe it fits a character theme, but another mechanical reason why we do is that the features from 2 classes interact in really interesting ways to provide something that is more powerful, or at least more powerful for the things we want to accomplish, than if we had stuck with an original class all the way through. Now, this is only really possible when 2 things are true. The first is that the features we are looking at from the 2 classes really work together. They synergize well. The second thing that needs to be true is that the class we are looking at is front-loaded so that we get these features we really want early on. Now, of course, there is no classes, subclasses, or multi-classing in the Marvel Multiverse TTRPG. Instead, we have power sets. And if you enter into a new power set, you get fewer powers for that particular rank that you've leveled into, but you get this broader variety of powers. If you stick with a single power set, you get more powers, 4 per level after rank 1, but you are not multi-classing. So the question before us is this always beneficial in this game? So most of the time, yes, multi-classing 2 power sets or 3 power sets together gives you a more robust character. Having blades mixed with martial arts or having cybernetics mixed with energy control, these are really good combinations. However, not every power set lends itself to multi-classing based on the rules we have just discussed. For a power set to not be good for multi-classing, it needs to not interact particularly well with other powers, and it also should have its primary features, its best features, later in the power set with higher level prerequisites. Most power sets are not like this, but one is, and that is weather control. So the weather control power set is honestly very interesting and really powerful, but it is different than the other power sets. It has almost no interaction with the powers from other power sets, excluding utility powers, of course. And it also has more high-level prerequisite powers than any other power set currently listed. We have 2 powers which you must be a rank 5 character to be able to take, and another 2 where you have to be rank 4. So what we have here is a backloaded character, one that starts off relatively weak and then becomes incredibly powerful in the second half of the game. And that's what I want to look at today, is what happens when we really commit to and build out the weather control power set. As always, I'm not particularly good at naming my characters, so if you have a good name, pop it into the comments below, but I will be calling this character the Oncoming Storm. As we get going with this character, we're not going to do anything special regarding the size of the character, so we start off as an average size, which gives us 25 feet of movement speed. We are going to be making ego-based attacks with the powers as presented in the weather control power set, and that's going to tell us how we need to spend points in our ability score point buy. So as I oftentimes do when building a character for this game, I am going to be taking a negative ability score point buy right off the bat, which gives me more points that I can spend elsewhere. And the maximum penalty that you can take is a -4 for an ability score. I will be doing a -4 in melee. I don't have almost anything I want to use my melee stat for with this character, so we're going to be taking -4 there, which gives us 4 more points to spend elsewhere. We also get 5 ability score points we get to spend per rank, so at rank 1 we have 9 points to spend. We're going to put 2 into agility, we're going to put 2 into resilience, which gives us 50 hit points. We're going to put 1 into vigilance, giving us 25 points of focus, and we're going to get 4 points of ego right off the bat. The ability score cap that you can take is always 3 plus your rank. So the cap for ego at rank 1 is 4, and we're maxing it out right away. The first power we're going to take is Thunder. Thunder allows us to target one character, and we make an ego attack against the resilience defense, not just of that character, but of every character within 50 feet. Upon a success, the character that we have succeeded against is deafened for 1 round, and upon a fantastic success, the character is stunned. 2 points on this. First, stunned means they cannot take actions, reactions, or movement. You get a free round of attacks against the enemy, which is amazing. But the downside is that this immediately affects or attacks the resilience score of all characters within 50 feet, not just enemy combatants, all characters. The second power we are going to take is going to be evasion. Evasion allows us to use our agility defense for our melee defense, and this is really important because it is going to shore up our defenses right away. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and say the defenses that we have at this rank. Now that we have evasion, our melee defense is a 12, our agility defense is a 12, resilience defense is a 12, our vigilance defense is an 11, our ego defense is a really nice 14, and our logic defense is a 10. We will eventually be shoring up the logic defense, but right now it's just not great. And the last power we are going to take at this rank is Combat Trickery. I absolutely need it on this character. It allows us once per battle to decide after rolling to hit that the roll is actually a fantastic success, turning the Marvel die over to a 1, which means we get to decide once per battle that our attack is going to deafen and stun our enemies for 1 round, which is great. Later in this character's career, I'm really going to be paying a lot of attention to the traits that I am taking because they relate to things I'm doing at that rank. But right off the bat, the trait you take is not actually all that important. I'm going to take Battle Ready, which gives us another 5 points of focus, which brings us from 25 to 30 points of focus. That's useful for us, so we'll take that. If you've got something that fits your character theme better, go for that instead. So what does combat look like for us at rank 1? And the answer is it's not great. We really don't have almost any ability to do damage. And so our damage output is just going to be probably a 0. Now you could pick up a agility-based weapon like a handgun or a shotgun or something like that and use that after round 1. We're going to be dropping that weapon after rank 1. So kind of do whatever feels right, but we're just trying to survive rank 1 and get to rank 2 at this point. First round of combat, we run in, we hope that our enemies are going to be kind of clumped together, and we're going to use Thunder and use Combat Trickery, which will stun them. Our allies are going to get a full round of free attacks on these enemies. So you want to work out with your teammates this strategy of perhaps having them hold their attacks until after you have been able to go. Let's do point buy for rank 2. We're going to get our agility up to a 4. We're going to get resilience up to a 3. We're going to get vigilance up to a 2 and ego capped at a 5. We're going to have 75 hit points and 55 points of focus. But the real reason we're bumping vigilance is in order to improve our initiative roll. This is going to give us defenses of 14 for melee, 14 for agility, a 13 for resilience, a 12 for vigilance, and a 15 for ego, and still only a 10 for logic. So let's choose some powers. So the first power we're going to take is Lightning Strike. This is going to be our bread and butter for a little while on this character, And we could not take it at rank 1 because you must be a rank 2 character to be able to take this power. It works like this. We point out an enemy and we make a ranged attack against them, and upon a success, we strike them with lightning. Upon a fantastic success, they take double damage, but here's where it gets even better. This immediately triggers your thunder power. Now, this is one of the few instances in the game where one power immediately triggers another power to go off, so you can do damage, deafen, and stun your enemies just with one use of Lightning Strike. But wait, it gets better. Most ranged attack options in the game give you a distance that this particular type of attack is good at, 50 feet, 100 feet, whatever. Lightning Strike, in fact, just about all of the powers inside of the weather control power set rely on line of sight. Line of sight is a much farther distance than the mechanical numbers we would estimate from a lot of weaponry. And on top of that, and this is going to be important later, it doesn't have a numerical value associated with it. And we're going to use that to great advantage. The next power we're going to take is Flight. And Flight, I think, is just a necessity on this character. Flight is technically a utility power, not in the weather control power set. And it gives us 2 flying speeds. In combat, our flying speed is going to be our rank times our running speed. At the moment, that is going to be rank 2 times 25 feet. So we are going to have an in-combat flying speed of 50 feet per round, which is amazing, and it's only going to get better. Outside of combat, our flying speed is 3 times our in-combat speed. So at the moment, we can fly outside of combat 150 feet per round, which is going to be really useful. All right, the next power we're going to take is Discipline 1. The Discipline powers allow us to do a damage multiplier for ego-based attacks, which is what our attacks are based on. And it also allows us to add to our ego ability score when we do a ability check outside of combat, which we won't be calculating for that, but the damage multiplier is going to be wonderful. The next power we're going to take is Blowdown. Now we're taking this so that we can take other powers later, but it allows us to make an ego-based attack against agility or melee. This is probably the narrator's choice. And upon a success, we're going to knock a target prone. Upon a fantastic success, they're going to be pummeled with debris and they take normal damage. Knocking somebody prone might be situationally very useful. We're not going to be assuming we use this as we calculate damage numbers, but it is going to be nice for the other things we'll get down the road. The trait we're going to take at this rank is going to be Free Running, and this is a really important one for us. Free Running is, I don't think, named appropriately because it simply says that we get an automatic edge on all agility-based checks that we have during a movement action. So the actual trait doesn't specify that you are running. It simply states that you are moving. Flying is a movement action. So is swimming, so is climbing. And so if you are flying and you need to dodge in and out of very tricky areas or need to dodge debris that's flying through the air, you automatically have a check on all of those effects. So as I calculate damage, I'm going to specify just once here how damage is multiplied. You roll to hit. And you take the Marvel die and take that and multiply it against your rank. If you have a damage multiplier, which we do, that damage multiplier is added to your rank before the multiplication. In our case, we would roll our Marvel die and we multiply it by 3. 1 from the Discipline 1 power and 2 from our rank. We then add the ability score point from the trait we use to attack. In our case, that's Ego. Since our ego is a 5, we would take our Marvel die, multiply it by 3, add 5, and that would be the damage from an attack made with ego, which our Lightning Strike is. With that in mind, what does combat look like for us? Well, it's pretty straightforward. We go to the middle of the battlefield, we're going to pick out one target, and we're going to hit them with lightning. We're going to, on the first round, use our combat trickery power to guarantee a fantastic success, which will also guarantee that we deafen and stun our enemies, and hopefully a bunch of enemies that are within 50 feet of them. Every subsequent round, we're going to do a regular lightning strike. And we're going to assume that those are not fantastic successes, even though 17% of the time they will be. With that in mind, on our first round of combat, we are going to do 23 points of damage to a single target, and on subsequent rounds, we're going to do, rounded down, 15 points of damage. Not bad. It's rank 3, so let's go ahead and do ability point buy. We're going to get 5 in our agility, which is going to increase our running speed from 25 feet to 30. We're going to improve our resilience to a 5, which gives us 125 hit points. We're going to bring vigilance to a 3, so that's now 80 points of focus and a +3 to our initiative rolls. And we're going to cap ego at a 6, which is going to be really nice for our attack rolls. Our defenses are going to be a 15 for melee, a 15 for agility, a 15 for resilience, a 13 for vigilance, a 16 for ego, and it's going to be a 16 for logic, but more on that in a second. So let's go ahead and do our powers for this rank, and first I am going to take Wisdom. This is going to explain the defense score I just mentioned. It allows us to use our ego defense for our logic defense, bringing our logic defense score up, which is going to be really nice for us. The next power we're going to take is Discipline 2, which is going to give us a 2 damage multiplier instead of a 1 damage multiplier, and a +2 to all ability checks outside of combat using ego, which is nice. Next, we're going to take Blowback. Blowback is going to do an ego attack against an agility or a melee defense. That's probably going to be narrator's choice. And upon a success, we are going to be able to push the enemy 5 spaces away per each rank we have obtained. A couple points on this. The 5 spaces is a rules errata change, and a space is 5 feet. Since we are rank 3, 5 spaces times 5 feet is 25 feet. We have 3 ranks. So as rules are written right now, you could push somebody 75 feet away. I expect this numbering system to change in subsequent rules errata, but that's the way it's stated at the moment. Upon a fantastic success using this power, they do take normal damage from flying debris in the area. So forced movement can be potentially game altering, depending on the map that you're on and the circumstances, which is really cool. The last power we're going to take is going to be Control Weather 1. I just couldn't make it fit until this point in the character build, but it's really going to be helpful. This allows us to create a storm. A subsequent rules errata has stated that the size of the storm in diameter is 5 times your rank in miles, which means you can create a 15-mile storm. Inside of this storm, all ranges are cut in half, but movement is not affected. Now, here's what's interesting. Range is typically numerically based. You might have a 50-foot weapon, a 100-foot weapon, etc. But we rely on line of sight. Now, your narrator might rule that your line of sight has been halved, but no matter what, your line of sight is going to be a bigger distance than the distance of a firearm or most other weaponry that your enemies are using. Since you can fly, it is very likely you will be able to position yourself where you can see the enemy, but their ranged attacks cannot hit you. The trait that we're going to take at this rank is going to be Situational Awareness, which gives us an edge on our initiative checks. What does combat look like for us at this rank? We are going to hopefully have Control Weather already up, position ourselves flying as we have discussed, and pick a favorite target and hit them with lightning. On a first round of combat, we're going to use Combat Trickery. Using the strategy, on your first round of combat, you will do 36 points of damage and deafen and stun your enemy. On subsequent rounds, you will do, rounded down, 23 points of damage. It's rank 4, we're going to do ability point buy. We're going to get a 6 in our agility. We're going to get 7 in our resilience, so 175 points of health, a 4 for our vigilance, so 105 points of focus, and a +4 to our initiative checks, which we now have an edge on. And we're going to get 7 in our ego. This is going to bring our defenses to 16 for melee, a 16 for agility, a 17 for resilience, a 14 for vigilance, 17 for ego, 17 for logic. This character is a little bit underpowered the first 3 ranks of the game, and definitely more powerful than your average character the last 3 ranks of the game. And this is because of the combination of flight, Control Weather, and the next power we're going to take, which is Lightning Barrage. Lightning Barrage allows us to pick a point that is within line of sight. Every enemy, and please note the change in language, we no longer have friendly fire, every enemy that we are successful against is going to take half damage from being struck by lightning. They are also going to potentially be deafened and stunned because Lightning Barrage triggers thunder as well. The next power we're going to take is Flight 2, which increases your out-of-combat flying speed to 10 times your in-combat flying speed. Please note that our in-combat flying speed has been scaling. It's always our rank times our running speed, but our running speed has increased from 25 feet to 30 feet. Right now, our in-combat flying speed is going to be 120 feet, and that means that our out-of-combat flying speed is now 1,200 feet per round. The next power we're going to take is Discipline 3. This increases our damage multiplier from ego-based attacks to a 3 rather than a 2, and a +3 instead of a +2 to all ability checks made outside of combat using ego. The last power we're going to take is Control Weather 2, and now all ranges and all movements are cut in half. Please note that this does have friendly fire. All movements mean all creatures and all types of movement, which does include your flying speed. However, your flying speed is probably so much faster than any character's running speed that this is not a big problem for you. Our trait for this rank is going to be Signature Attack, which we pick a single power type of attack and we automatically have an edge on it. We've been waiting this whole time to take Signature Attack because I want it on Lightning Barrage. So now every time you use this power, you automatically have an edge when doing it. I'd like to revisit the way that damage is calculated because we are transitioning from a single target damage dealer to a multi-target damage dealer. Powers in the game that do damage to multiple targets do half damage to each target on a normal success and full damage upon a fantastic success. When you do damage to a single target, you do full damage upon a normal success and double damage upon a fantastic success. And this is to balance those types of attacks. So the numbers come out that you're only doing more damage with a multi-target attack once you have 3 valid targets, and that is what I assume. Naturally, this won't always happen. Sometimes you're going to have a single target and you'll switch to Lightning Strike. I totally get it. But when we are calculating the damage output for this character, the best that they can do is when they have multiple targets. But I don't want to assume that they have an enormous range of targets just to bump up the numbers. So 3 is what I assume. So what does combat look like for us? We fly in the air, we position ourselves as we have discussed, and we start lightning barraging. On the first round of combat, you do combat trickery. This will double the damage done before we hit each target. And then on subsequent rounds, you're going to lightning barrage and in all likelihood do half damage to each one of the targets that you have. This means on your first round of combat, you're going to do about 147 points of damage on the board. That is to 3 targets total. And for every subsequent round, you're going to be doing 47 damage. Let's do rank 5. We're going to bump agility to an 8. We're going to bump resilience to an 8, so 200 hit points. Bump vigilance to a 5 and bump our ego to an 8. This is going to give us defenses of 18 melee, 18 agility, 18 resilience, 15 vigilance, 18 ego, and 18 logic. You not only are going to be so far away from your enemies that they won't be able to hit you, but even if you are in range, your defenses are now really good. The first power we're going to take is Blow Away. It starts off the same as our other powers using wind essentially, but now it specifically says that upon a success, you can throw an enemy in any direction, including straight up, which is pretty fun. Obviously, we want to have something very tall to throw people off of, but this will do in a pinch. Upon a fantastic success, they take damage from the debris, but they're also going to take damage from landing on the ground. Which means we need to talk about how falling damage is calculated. You roll a 6-sided die, and then that is multiplied against the falling damage multiplier. Your falling damage multiplier is a +1 for every 15 feet that the character falls. So if you roll a 2 on the Marvel die and the character falls 15 feet, they take 30 points of damage. And you can add the damage multipliers for every 15 feet that they fall, which does cap at a 20 damage multiplier. The next power we're going to take is going to be Control Weather 3. Control Weather 3 starts off exactly the same as Control Weather 2, where your ranges and your movements are all cut in half, but now as a free action on your turn, you can Lightning Strike and still have your action for another action, like another Lightning Strike or another Lightning Barrage. Please note a language change. If you were reading this in the playtest material, it says that you can do a Lightning Strike as an easy action. Easy actions have been dismissed and disposed of in later rules errata, and it is assumed that anything that was an easy action is now simply free to do on your turn. So yes, once you have Control Weather 3 up, you can Lightning Barrage with your action, and you can do a Lightning Strike as a free action as well. The next power we're going to take is Discipline 4. This is the final discipline power, and it's going to do a 4 multiplier for our damage using ego-based attacks, which is just going to be amazing. The last power we're going to take is Group Flight. This is in the Weather Control power set, even though the flight powers are not. You can lift all of your friends into the air and you can all fly on the wind, but you're flying as a group at half of your normal flight speed, which is why getting to Flight 2 was so important. So even though you're flying at half speed, that still is really fast. Now the trait we're going to take at this rank is going to be Enhanced Physique, which increases the cap for our melee, agility, and resilience scores by 1. We have not been able to take advantage of that yet, but we are going to at our last rank. So when I am able to get a 10 in an ability score here at rank 6, that's how I was able to do it. Let's take a look at combat. We hopefully have Control Weather already up. We fly in the air, hopefully being out of range of our enemies, and we're going to start with the Lightning Barrage, and then we're going to do Lightning Strike. There's a reason for that order. When we do Lightning Barrage, because of a trait we've taken, we automatically have an edge doing it. We are then going to use Combat Trickery to guarantee a fantastic success. When we do a Lightning Strike immediately afterwards, that Lightning Strike will be at an edge because all attacks against stunned enemies have an edge. Every subsequent round, we are going to continue to do Lightning Barrage and a Lightning Strike. Sometimes we might have an edge on the Lightning Strike, sometimes not, but we will always have an edge on the Lightning Barrage. The damage output is going to start getting utterly ridiculous at this level. Because our first round of combat has a Lightning Barrage that is automatically a fantastic success from Combat Trickery, and we have a Lightning Strike, you're going to be putting 225 points of damage on the board. On every subsequent round, we are going to be putting 98 points of damage on the board with no fantastic success, but with assuming that the Lightning Barrage and the Lightning Strike both hit. Let's do rank 6. We're going to be able to get to a 10 in our agility here, which is going to be pretty great for us because every 5 points of agility, you get to add 5 to your movement speed, your running speed. This brings us to 35 for our running speed, which then helps calculate our flying speed. We're going to bring resilience to a 9, giving us 225 hit points. Our vigilance to a 6. We're going to bring ego to a 9, which is our cap. Our defenses are going to be 20 melee, 20 agility, 19 resilience, 16 vigilance, 19 ego, 19 logic. The first power we're going to take is Weather Control 4. Weather Control 4 simply upgrades the free action from a Lightning Strike to another Lightning Barrage. Let's talk about edge and trouble for a second. We know that damage multipliers and damage reduction do not stack. You can't add together different variations of having damage multipliers and damage reduction and have them be additive. However, edge and trouble do stack. If you have an edge from multiple sources, they are additive together. So please note that if we have an edge from a stunned enemy, and if we have an edge from the trait that we have taken, you can have a double edge on Lightning Barrage attacks. This means that your first Lightning Barrage is going to do Combat Trickery, it is going to stun your enemies, and you have an edge from the stunned condition and from the fact that we took a trait for Lightning Barrage to always have an edge. Your second Lightning Barrage is now a double-edged attack. The next power we're going to take is Reinforced Skeleton, which does a flat 1 damage reduction. I haven't been able to take damage reduction on this character, but this is a pretty good time to take it. So now I've kind of run out of powers that I want to take. I'm going to list here that we're going to take Nature Sense, which allows you to predict the weather for 1 week in advance per each rank you have obtained, which is a month and a half for us. And we're going to take Control Fog, which allows us to create a thick fog that is 500 yards in diameter per each rank we have obtained. We could have taken these at rank 1, but I skipped them in order to take other powers. Now, these are weather control powers. They're okay. Maybe you'll use them, maybe you won't. But I took them because the concept of this video was quite simply to build a character without going into another power set. If at this moment you wanted to go into another power set and take a couple levels of the armor power set and you'd be able to get to a 2 damage reduction rather than a 1, I wouldn't blame you. Additionally, I don't care about the trait we take at this rank. I say taster's choice on this one, whatever seems thematically appropriate to you and your character. So combat is insane for us. We get to Lightning Barrage twice per each round of combat. The very first one that we do is going to be done with Combat Trickery, guaranteeing a fantastic success. You will have at least an edge on all of these attacks. Sometimes you are going to have a double edge on them. So the numbers are going to be insane here. The first round of combat, you're going to be putting 339 points of damage on the board, and every subsequent round, 132 points of damage on the board. These numbers are divided up among 3 targets. This character is insane. This is wildly more damage than I have ever mechanically put on the board with anything I've played around with, talking on this channel or playing around in my home game, ever. On top of that, this character is nearly impossible to hit because of weather control. They can fly at very early ranks. They can get everyone around them to fly. So they get to do any kind of infiltration mission that you might want. This is a fun character to play. And it brings us back to our original conversation. If we had multi-classed this character, we would have delayed Weather Control 3 and 4. We would have delayed Lightning Barrage potentially. And that would have been kind of a shame because the higher ranks of this character are really what you're here for. You have to commit to the weather control power set to get everything out of it that you want. But if you do, you're gonna love it. Anyway, that's what I've got for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next time. YouTube is literally made out of buttons. They're all over here, and I hope you press some of them. Have a nice day.